Right, we're back with Yah's latest PowerPoint and his adventures with UFOs and getting to the bottom of the UFO pit. Now, let's move right along. Yah's here with me. He's about to laugh and launch, but we'll wait till we arrive on the appropriate sites because we're going to have a lot of laughs in this one as the world is dealing with a bit of insanity that's going on as the show at the moment. But let's move along with our show.
Okay.
Now, Andrea, Anna, I left a comment over on your Facebook page because this was brilliant. It's always about the timing of things coming forward. So Andrea actually writes that she copied this from her post, January 31st, 2015. Quoting Luke 1:46 through 55 is called the Magnificat, Mary's Magnificat. It is based largely on the Song of Anna or Hannah, found at 1 Samuel chapter 2 verses 1 through 10. And so Andrea is doing a comparison of taking the Old Testament script, if you like, and its fulfillment within the New Testament and recorded within the Gospels of Yahweh-Jesus. 1 Samuel 2:1, my heart exalts, and then reading Luke 1:47, my spirit rejoices. Now I have to say to you, this is all anecdotally. We know how much you like the anecdotal conversations that Yah and I have between us. As I was communicating with Father Giuseppe Civello on the Facebook message page, this was on the
Benedict's assistant.
Pope Benedict's assistant, yes. It was March the 11th, 2013, and of course, it all came about because of Andrea Anna. Andrea Anna, she broke through. I had suggested to her that she just do whatever she can to break through and to get a message to Benedict. And the message was that the Christ does not hold you accountable for the sins of the men within the church, because at that time Benedict was under fire, as they do.
Oh, he was.
And that got their attention, and of course the rest is history. The audience that Andrea Anna had, first of all, with Pope Benedict through live emails, that was his suggestion, and it was based upon Andrea Anna's work and her breakthrough, and then the photograph that she sent of Yahweh and the Shroud of Turin comparison, etc.
Wasn't she born in the same area as Benedict? Spoke the same dialect?
Well, yeah, I mean, German. So it was
dialect, the same area.
Yeah, yeah.
It does change from.
Yeah. And she'd done this brilliant genetic bloodline in German, 5-minute video that she sent to Benedict. So Andrea Anna, our heroine, and Granny, and Andrea.
I remember we're sitting when we first announced to me that Anna was online, or she's coming into. I said, "Oh yeah, that's Granny."
Yes, that was 2010.
I didn't even look up.
No, it was 2010. Yeah, she made contact.
That's Mary's mother.
Yeah,
Immaculate Conception.
Yes.
In the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yes. All of that was. Anna, you would know better. I keep thinking 2010. Perhaps it was before, because she came in. I remember the message that she always understood the numbers. Well, she would, because it's the bloodline. It's the soul connection and the bloodline. So, continuing with this comparison, 1 Samuel 2, there is none holy like the Lord. Luke 1:49, holy is his name. What I wanted to say, finish, was when Father Giuseppe was communicating the first time I looked at him, hey, I'm just the messenger. That is what happened within me. It was like my soul within me leapt.
I remember that, yeah.
My soul within me leapt, and I said to him, I wrote back and said, this is what happened. As soon as I saw his words, I said, you must be a very good man. But continuing, this is Anna's writing. Anna was married to Elkanah, but like John and Samson's mothers, she had not been able to conceive. Reading 1 Samuel 1:11, Yah's rebirth day, quoting, she made this vow, O Lord of hosts, if only you will give to your servant a male child, then I will set him before you as a Nazarite until the day of his death. He shall drink neither wine nor intoxicants, and no razor shall touch his head. Hannah became pregnant and bore a son.
Now, I have never drunk or smoked, and I hate having my hair cut.
Yes, you have.
Matter of fact, I don't go to barbers at all.
But this is the point, that the image on the Shroud of Turin captures the braid, the single braid. It's very long down your back. So there's a reason for this today. Reading 1 Samuel 1:22. So there you've got the numbers 11 and 22. Now, there's a lot of talk and speculation about 369 and Tesla and the magic of the number 369 and the power of the universe. And Yah just wants you to know that 11 is the master number over all the universe. And so, quoting, as soon as the child is weaned, I will bring him that he may appear in the presence of Yahweh. I will offer him as a Nazarite for all time. Anna, Hannah, and baby Samuel were also Nazarites. In the opening verses of the first chapter of Luke, sent Theophilus to Nazarites. In the Old Testament, Anna writes 3 times the mention of the Nazarite. You have Samson, the Nazarite, Daniel, the Nazarite, and Samuel, the Nazarite. Yah has always said the prophets were Essene or Nazarites. Luke's method of defining the way and identifying the Nazarenes as the 4th sect was incredibly clever. Apparently, he was not able to write that John and Jesus were members of the sect called Nazarenes. Had some unnamed enemy set about to destroy that very important information? Perhaps one of those who persecuted, spoke against, maligned, or blamed the Nazarenes for great disturbances. And who could that be? ? And then the Song of Hannah is a poem interrupting the prose text of the books of Samuel. According to the surrounding narrative, the poem was a prayer delivered by Hannah to give thanks to God for the birth of her son, Samuel, and so reflected in the birth of Mary from the Virgin, the Immaculate Conception within Anna, your grandmother.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yes, so I just wanted to include Anna's writings and findings from 2015. It's significant now because we've had a delightful young lady find Yah and contact us from, it was the 25th of September 2020 when she phoned us and has become part of our thoughts and routine, if you like. And in particular, she is working with Adam spiritually, and hair, long, thick, wavy. You'll have to send me a text, H for hiding, and let me know how long your hair really is. But she and Adam have been working in the ether of space, in other words, spiritually, and certainly she is like Samson. And this time, rather than the physical temple that was caused through Samson pushing out the 2 pillars, spiritually, that's the work that is being done. So it's appropriate that Andrea send the information around again today, because everything leads to Yah. Everything. For he is Israel and he is a Nazarene. All right, so let's have some fun with Yah's adventures. This is really funny. And it's only now that you're doing this, that all of this is available on your computer, not mine, about who it is that we're going to talk about. You've heard his name before for people who've been following along, but so Yah says, I returned to Canada in 1989 after being set up for fraud in Australia. This is all about the cheque. And you know what the cheque's all about. This is about the number of lunations, 24,050 lunations from Jesus until Yah's rebirth. So Yah arrived in...
It's so stupid to even try.
Well, yeah. Well, they've got to try, haven't they?
Well, I always say give it your best shot.
Give it, yeah. They have to
this
try.
This guy trying to rip me off. Well, he said, who would the police believe? Me, a fine, upstanding businessman?
Or you...
And I said, well, who would my uncle believe? Who's the head of the
taxation.
Concentration camp. Head of the taxation department. So he'll go through you like a bag of salts. So he then panicked halfway writing this cheque out and slid it over to me. It was already signed cheque, a blank cheque.
Yes.
Pull it out and brought it over.
Yeah. No.
He was white as that piece of...
Anyway, let's move on to the Dodge Diplomat. This is so funny. So the Dodge Diplomat was formerly owned by an Iraqi living in Los Angeles. So Yah drove to the Grand Canyon to examine the strata layers, as everybody does, right? The strata layers, indicated by the angles that the Earth had been pushed up by the Mars impact, which caused the flood of Noah. From there, drove to the Dinosaur Park in Utah and back into Canada. So Pauline is with you all this time. Okay. So this is... right, so now the UFO phenomenon sparked my interest, writes Yah, after receiving an unexpected $10,000 from the Workers' Compensation
Well, getting
Board.
money out of the Workers' Compensation is like getting blood out of stone. This just showed up, and the little letter with it said to assist you in your financial difficulties.
Right, so this is after going to the doctor and he determining that, you know, you've got all this stuff in your system and...
That's right,
but
poison you with that stuff.
Yeah, right, so, okay. So, Yah writes, I purchased a small camper trailer.
12 foot long it was.
12 feet long, really? Okay.
About as big as this room.
Oh, that's funny.
That's for the tow bar.
Right. Planning a trip to Gulf Breeze, Florida. And so then on the 30th of June, 1992, drove across Canada. So that's when you set out, was it? You set out
That's
on
right.
the 30th of June.
I was going to hit as many UFO hotspots that I could find.
Okay. So but right now you're driving across Canada. Yep. Okay. Toured the embassies in Ottawa.
Yep.
Drove past the Iraqi embassy, which sparked their security concerns.
They have the same deal. They check every car license plate that sort of cruises past.
Of course, yeah. And then you drove on to the US embassy, stopped in a nice shady area and began preparing breakfast. Suddenly, my wife, Pauline, panicked. Several RCMP police vehicles with flashing lights surrounded us. A policeman with his gun drawn peeked into the camper and Yah at the stove. So Yah writes, I asked, had breakfast? Want a sausage?
Because he smiled, he couldn't help it, right?
He couldn't help it, right.
And his little gun drooped down a bit.
So he laughed and signalled the others that it was okay, and they left. Pauline, previously seeing the 6 squad car, had collapsed in fear on the bed. So Yah writes, I asked, what was the problem? So this policeman said the US embassy had called them. Their gate was just 200 metres away. Checked the license plate and was registered to an Iraqi from Los Angeles. However, the camper trailer had a British Columbia license plate. So neither one of them registered to me, as Yah doesn't bother with those kinds of things. He still doesn't. I get it all organised. So he checked my driver's license, and it was okay. We had a good laugh. The US Embassy had tracked my license plate with, oh no. Is that supposed to be oh no?
Yeah, it should be oh no.
Oh no, all right, I'll change that. An Iraqi car, what, towing a bomb in a 12-foot camper trailer.
That's how they think, right?
Yes, of course. So the small trailer, they thought, could have been a bomb. I had driven past the Iraqi embassy, noted the armed guards pay attention to me as if it was a bomber's suicide farewell.
Because the Yanks are watching that too.
Yes, of course they are. Yeah. So the US Embassy acted in panic mode. The cop told me we were under surveillance for bugs planted in the tree, which I had parked besides, adding, if Canadian citizens knew how much is spent on this insanity, they would riot in the streets. So Yah writes, we talked for a while. He said he could not advance his career in Ottawa as he did not speak French. And then finally, after an hour, he left.
He did have some sausages too, I think.
He did he? Yeah. Oh, yeah, good. Okay. So now we're backtracking now because Yah writes, I had to be put out. I had to be out of my rented house on Sprott Lake near Port Alberni. So this is what sparked the idea for the trip, right?
Yeah.
And with the surprise, yeah. So the doctor who owned it wanted 2 months on the lake during the summer. Now, the year before, in 1991, we flew to Los Angeles and purchased a Datsun and drove to Mexico, where I had cast out demons from Mayan temples. So now, in 1992, purchased the camper, the trailer, loaded up my computer and reluctant wife, Pauline, who had become infected by the demons I had cast out from the Mayan temples. And that was July the 12th, the previous year in 1991. So then, okay, so we drive across Canada via Ottawa. So after all this in Ottawa, with the policemen and the sausages in the camper trailer, on to New York, stopping at UFO hotspots along the way. And then driving through New York, traffic backed up at an intersection. A New York cop was directing the traffic and stopped all movement. Spotting us, he beckoned me to approach him in the middle of the intersection. He said, you must be an Australian. You must be an Australian. I grinned, yes. And then he said, only an Australian would tow a camper trailer through New York. With a big grin, bid me farewell, and we drove on, chuckling. Must have been an angel. Yeah, just recounting this trip. Everything was a setup and had to have been angels, yes. So heading down the East Coast, we arrive at the Edgar Cayce, ARE Library, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Yah writes, he was a fake psychic who, while asleep, could diagnose a person's illness, prescribe the cure, and where to buy it, even pinpointing on what shelf in a nearby drugstore where the patient could find it.
Total bullshit. Well, I examined hundreds of his records, and of course they're all old, and there's no way you could in those days confirm any of it.
Mm.
So he'd be in Virginia Beach or that area, and he'd diagnose someone in Los Angeles or San Francisco. It's all over the bloody place, right?
Yes, yeah.
And say what this person had, and it was all total fake.
Yes.
But it's good book selling.
Yeah, and then of course you've got the supposed descendants of those today in the, what's his name, David Wilkerson and people like that, who have all added to the confusion, the absolute confusion, and trying to run with
David Wilkinson, he believes he's a reincarnate.
That's right, that's what I mean.
Now, he died in, this Casey died in 1945, in January, I think. January 3rd, something like that. And this idiot who's now, he does look a little bit like him. The total proof would have been the length of his feet, because this new character on the block, his feet are about 18 inches long. It's the strangest thing you've ever seen. He's a skinny little man with his great long feet. He'd make a great swimmer. Right?
Yeah.
Forget the bullshit.
No flippers needed.
Yeah, he should have been in the Olympics.
Well, like Ian Thorpe.
Ian Thorpe's feet, 18 inches long feet.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the Dutch guy who was right on his heels,
yeah,
so to speak, also had 18-inch feet.
Yeah. All adding to the confusion of information over the last couple of decades since the advent of the internet, really. And people talk about an information war. It seems like the information war has all been designed to drown your information out.
Well, you're in hell. What do you expect?
Yeah. All right, so here's the Edgar Cayce building. Yeah, right, it's big money in bullshit.
This is actually the back of it. When you go on Google Earth, I tried to get a shot from the front of it, but unfortunately the trees are in the way, and the traffic.
Okay.
So I took that from the back.
So, yeah, right, in the building there was a machine commonly used in experiments to test a person's ESP. Pauline said, if you are Christ, you can read my mind, challenging me to demonstrate my ESP with her.
Well, then, you know, I read her mind every minute of the second I was with her.
Yes,
talk about an evil bastard, but then again, I like evil bastards. You can get a forward motion out of an evil bastard. You can't get anything out of a nice person.
Right, okay. By then she had seen many miracles, but like all doubters, time eliminated her initial shock and belief only to fade over time and altered circumstances. So, yeah, right, I sat on one side while my sceptical wife sat on the other. On both sides were a series of shapes. She would select one of 5, and I, on the other side of the petition, had to select which of the 5...
What the shapes were, they were about 4 inches square, and you press each one that you want to select for the other side to have to then prove it. So one would be a circle, one would be a plus sign, one would be a star, one would be something else.
Yeah, right. So had to select which of the 5 she had pressed. The chance was 1 in 5. Tourists, many from Asian countries, that is Japan, became interested and crowded behind her. I had begun 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on, all correct. She was becoming agitated. You can see me move, or you're reading the reflection in my pupils, like the James Bond
movie where he's cutting up this beautiful woman,
yes.
And you can see in her pupils the assassin coming in behind him.
Right.
So he swings her around and she gets shot.
Oh, okay. So I said, okay, I'll turn away, you make the selection, sit back and then say ready, and I turned back and again continued to the applause of the crowd watching her selection. You are tricking the machine, she says. I continued until I had 97 straight. She kept on complaining, it's a trick. I said, okay, I'll get the next 3 wrong, and did. 97 out of 100. But because the entire Edgar Cayce charade was a hoax, had they been genuine, it would have attracted management, as the record at the time was 19 out of 100. No surprise, 1 in 5 must get 1 right. Oh dear. So here it is. Oh yeah,
it looks like him, doesn't
it does look like David, what's his name?
Wilkinson.
Yeah, right. So walking back to the car, Pauline insisted I had tricked the machine. I said, no, you doubted me just like you always do. Yet here was a demonstration, but still not good enough. So yeah, January the 3rd, 1945, Edgar Cayce died. So, moving right along on Yar's road trip, our next stop was Gulf Breeze, Florida, the UFO hotspot.
I should mention too, when I had planned all this, Pauline was adamant she didn't want to go to Gulf Breeze, Florida. And I thought, hello, then we've got to go.
Yes.
There's a devil incarnate.
Yeah, right. A UFO hotspot, a sighting every 3 days on average. So from the Edgar Cayce to the shoreline Pensacola UFO hotspot was a distance of 785 miles in a straight line. So 785 is another biblical UFO, the word flame in Daniel 7:11, which reads, I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn or UFO spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. Now, Yah writes, Gulf Breeze, Florida, more bullshit, the hometown of Ed Walters. Now, you've all heard this story before, a lot of you, but now we actually have pictorials to back it up. So this is what the interesting part is. Ed Walters, a Satanist who faked a UFO outside the back door of his house. A man who used a circular fluorescent tube as a glowing UFO. In his book, he has a photograph taken by his wife of him raising his fists toward the UFO overhead. He's draped in a towel, The story ran, his wife calling him from the shower, wrapping a towel and running outside to defend his family. Yah writes, a Polaroid camera, easy to fake. So let's take a look what we actually found this time on the internet, on Yah's computer, not on mine. Here, this is on the internet. We found this, Yah found this yesterday, and a whole lot more about the Satanist Ed Walters. So
he's standing on a flashlight, see?
Oh, right. So that's the light on the road.
No, it's his backyard.
Oh, it is his backyard, and so.
Oh well, who knows where it was really taken?
Oh right. I thought maybe that was.
No.
No. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, because it just.
Well, you're going to shine it on the UFO, right?
Right. To defend his family.
UFO off, wouldn't it?
Defend his family wrapped in a towel. He looks really scary, doesn't he?
Lovely man he is too.
Oh. So, a bit of backup before we get into more pictures. Yah writes, I went to Ed Walters' home. Now, how did you get the information about Ed Walters?
Look, angels gave me the information. All the stuff you're reading here, angels. Yeah. I got phone numbers. I got, when we carry on, we go to Roswell.
Yes.
From there, we go to interview a guy who was the lover of the man who had Operation Blue Book.
All right.
He was out of Chicago University.
Right.
He was in charge of the Blue Book.
Blue Book or Blue Beam?
Blue Book.
Blue Book, okay.
His job by the army or whoever employed him, the government anyhow, was to compile all his UFO sightings. But his lover was a homosexual.
Right.
That he gave the game away. We met him, phone number again, phoned him in San Marino to meet in a coffee shop when they also sold books, so you could go into the coffee shop, sit down and read a book, and then buy the book, and then you could leave. On the wall was a photograph of a dog with a very long, wrinkly face. I forget the name of the type of dog. But he said to me, oh, Fred Oliphant has a dog like that. Now, Fred Oliphant was in Fife, Alabama, which I was also given angels direction to get to. And this guy Fred Oliphant was a public relations officer at the Belgium High.
And we're going to read about that because we actually found it, the reference to it, but they've changed it.
Oh, they did, yes.
Yeah.
They've changed it to Germany. It was Belgium.
Yeah.
And that's where the big UFO thing started prior to all this. Yeah. So he had come to Fife, Alabama, and to qualify as a policeman, he had to do a breathalyzer test. He told me that.
To qualify as a policeman, that was the test, the breathalyzer test.
One policeman in Fife, Alabama, big guy, looked like one of the movie stars, Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
Big, handsome.
Oh, you said, but with red hair, wasn't it?
Red hair.
Yeah.
And he said, you've got to meet Fred. Now, you don't do this to policemen. I went out to his house with this policeman.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's Fred, and he's got this little bloody dog with a wrinkled face.
Yeah, right. With Sharpei or a pug or something?
Who knows what it is? I should put I'll
I
find
think it might be a Sharpei. Yeah,
I'll get a photograph of it and put it on.
All right. Okay, well, let's get there because this is all part of the...
We go back to the police station and there's I think I mentioned it here, there's a table very wide and about 14 feet long, like a conference table.
About the length of the Shroud
and then another huge policeman comes in, he's the police chief, he's bigger than me.
Yeah.
Right? So I met him, how you doing, blah, 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 and told him we were writing a book on UFOs and stuff. And in the meantime, some little girls who worked in the office were bringing out to the photostat copier. They were making heaps of photostat copies. So the captain walks over and he picks one up and he looks at it. The sun's shining through, so the light went through the paper and I could see it was a devil's head.
Right.
They were all Satanists, right?
Yes. So
the story originally was that they had a call to go out to an area where a farm or whatever, someone had seen a UFO, a big triangular shaped UFO. I'll put the photograph.
Oh, you found it this morning.
I did.
Yeah.
And it's a huge thing, bigger than a football field. He said, then they drove away and I was parked with his son talking about it, what a strange phenomenon. And then this thing come over from the distance, flew right over the top of them. Right. He said, it's a big UFO, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out, of course, they're all Satanists. So this is how the story goes on. At the end of the conversation, he stood beside me and he's looking down on me, that's how big he was. He said, if I was you, I'd be very careful, son.
Yes.
Very careful.
Yeah, right.
So we were very careful. I got in the bloody caravan and pulled it out and went then to Roswell,
right.
where I had the phone number of the wife of Ed Holt.
Right. Okay. Which is
Walter Holt. Sorry.
Well, okay. Let's move this because we're back with Ed. You met his wife. She told me they were married on the 11th of 11th year 1987. You can see how the enemy has hijacked 11.
Yeah.
You know,
And it was 11th Avenue, number 11.
Yeah, right. He was a builder and on weekends held parties at his house or occasionally organised road trips for high school students giving band recitals. How scary is that? The house he had lived in, built on 11th Avenue, we tried to find it in Pensacola or Gulf Breeze area, but it did come up with 1111 North.
But he was a builder
yeah,
as well.
But we didn't find the house there, which may have been gone by now anyway. Anyway, his wife told me she had just got out of the hospital after attempting suicide and was frightened of him. She added their son also attempted suicide sometime before. Not a good recommendation as a husband for Ed. She added her husband would not be back until later that day. I came back and interviewed him. He was very cagey and suspicious. In a supermarket, I met the parents of some students. They had overheard me talk to MUFON members that I was investigating the UFO hoax.
Personally, I think they were angels. They
Right.
had that something that an angel has about them.
Right, yes.
But the information they gave me, local people of high school students' parents would not have the information they gave me.
Yes, right. They said he arranged road trips privately for the students. On these trips, he would wait at night and tape record them making out, then threaten them with exposure to their parents unless they verified his UFO encounter. They said he was a Satanist. Now, after selling his house, so this is Ed, the new owner found in his attic the circular fluorescent tube and other material for his fake UFO. And writes, note his book, April Fool, the 1st of April. Next slide, the story of Walter. So yeah, we found this on the internet just days ago. It's been there, The Gulf Breeze sighting paperback, 1st of April 1991, April Fool. Now that's interesting. Adam was born Easter Saturday, March the 30th. So this was the Monday, April the 1st. This is Ed Walters. We found this all this morning. And there, we'll take a close-up of his homemade UFO. So this is Frances Walters, is it?
That's his wife.
Yeah. She looks lovely, but
when I met him, he had a very big head of hair of curls, right?
Right. So
there's like he sat in a barber shop or female hairdressers and got the curls all set.
Oh, right. They
really aggravate me, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the permanent. So writes he's having a dig. The local cake shop reported 2 large and 2 small custard tarts stolen. Reported it to local police. Coincidence? Lower right, evidence of crash landing showing buckled fuselage. Early model pie in the sky. So
I must admit, I made that up.
Yeah. So Ed sold his house and the new owner found the early model in the attic. The later model was more advanced with bathrooms.
So that's what they found, the guy holding it in his hand?
That's what he found. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. That's amazing.
Foam cups upside down, joined together.
Yeah. These are, styrofoam picnic plates.
There's a better shot of that later on.
Now, before we get to the close-up of the the cake shop UFO found in his attic, but here's Ed being interviewed by Oprah, and of course she being a Satanist too, this is how
She's been arrested too.
this is how the quantum gets out there and manipulating people's belief systems, and so the creative mind brings all of these entities forward. And it didn't help that you cast out all the demons from Palenque the year before.
Oh, well, wait on.
And they went across the Gulf right into the USA.
Well, that appears to be the case.
Yes.
That's the eyewitness that said so. But then again, his name was Jacobson. That's actually one of the lovely people.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's get away from here and on to... Here we go. The UFO on the left, able to sustain Earth entry heat build up. It's a Pyrex dish. Oh dear. And then the one on the right is the close-up of the UFO found in Ed Walters'
There seems to be a little light bulb on top there. It's a bit bent over on the impact.
Yeah, totally. Oh, so funny. Now, this is an article from July 2020. Yeah, July 20th, 2020. Why? Because in 1987, a local contractor named Ed Walters contacted the Gulf Breeze Sentinel with photographs of a UFO he claimed were taken from his yard in the small town of Gulf Breeze on November 11th. Over the next few weeks, Walters provided more unusually clear UFO photos, reported and documented a series of UFO sightings over a period of 3 weeks. The photos and Walters' account were analysed by ufologists at the time, and many believe them to be true. Okay, so...
I never believed it myself.
So the point is that this article was written and...
2020?
Yes, July 27, 2020, because there's a UFO mini golf course opens, and the real Florida UFO incident that inspired it. Yeah, it's mini golf. Yes, that's what this is. See, you can see mini golf. Right. So now, on July 20th, 1990, see, this is the story that Yah was given with a twist, because Yah was told they were from Belgium, the Strategic Air Command. But here, in this article, 6 American soldiers AWOL, away without leave, from their base in what was then called West Germany.
I've also got the date wrong.
Right. Were arrested in Gulf Breeze. The soldiers claimed they had come to the UFO hotspot on a secret mission to kill the Antichrist. Right, now that's a twist in the story that you were told.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The date wrong was 1992.
Some of the 6 were familiar with the area because they had done their basic training at Curtis Station in Pensacola. Unbelievably, the soldiers were at first let go without penalty, but later demoted and docked 2 weeks' pay. According to one account, 1,400 of the 1,600 pages on the incident were not released when they were declassified. There was a UFO conference in Pensacola at the time, and many people found, and that's why you were there, weren't you? That you were there at the same time, so it was 1992. At the time, and many people found dots to connect to convince them that this was related to the UFOs of Ed Walters, the pie plates, the custard duck. Yeah, like.
As I was standing around in the Pensacola plate, there's all eating little pies.
Oh God. So here we go, back to Ed. So Ed Walters. This is the article from the internet. Even Fox Mulder got involved in this case. In the X-Files episode, EBE, FBI Special Agent Ed Mulder, which is the actor David Duchovny, investigated the Gulf Breeze sightings, wrote an essay on them for Omni magazine, and admitted, "When I first saw the Gulf Breeze photos, I knew they were a hoax."
You shouldn't have said that.
So Fox, well, the show's writers, had the advantage in 1994 of knowing that in 1990 Ed Walters had moved out of his house in Gulf Breeze, and the new owner discovered in the attic a model of a flying saucer made out of foam pie plates, cardboard, paper, and tinted plastic gel. Local reporters attempted to redeem themselves from earlier "we believe" reports by staging photos similar to Walters, who claimed the model was a plant, to discredit him. That hasn't stopped others from still believing in his story and seeing other UFOs, many of which could be linked to that Navy air base in Pensacola. So now back to Yah's adventures. So he was there in 1992 when all of this was going down. So in the previous year, on July the 11th, 1991, Yah writes, "I was in the Yucatan and travelled through Belize. There I set up a photo experiment to record a solar eclipse." And what happened? It was so clear that you...
Well, it was on a beach.
Yes.
And I set up a very expensive camera I had too. I paid $3,500 for it. It was a Canon, beautiful thing. Had a freeze frame of 10 thousandths per second.
Right.
And had all these cardboard things with holes in it, because you can do that and let the light shine through, and I only get photographs of that, the still camera and movie camera. So a little tiny cloud, 10 minutes ago, clear, beautiful sky. I said, this is going to be great. A little tiny cloud in the distance comes zipping across, and by the time the eclipse occurred, the cloud cover was so dark, so thick,
dense, yes,
that when the solar eclipse occurred, the cloud cover didn't even go dark.
Right.
It was the most amazing thing. The winds come up so hard it blew the camera over.
Right.
Right, and all the other experiments I had set up, they all got blown away. So I thought, oh, here we go. Thank you, Lord. So I never got a shot of it.
Right, okay. Now what's interesting is that you have told that story of Ed Walters for years. And then just July last year is that article that's published to let everybody know that what Yah was telling. Now, what was the change in the script though, that you were told that the computer in Belgium?
It was in Belgium, Strategic Air Command, American Strategic Air Command, what it was supposed to be. It's been changed to, the data's changed, and it's also, it was...
that the computer, the supercomputer...
The supercomputer had spat out information of the Iraqi war, which hadn't started yet, and also that Jesus was coming to Gulf Breeze, Florida on a UFO.
Right.
That was the main story.
Right. Now, wait on. The Iraq War did start in 1991. That was the original one. The first round one.
Yeah, something like that.
Right. So, and that Jesus was coming to...
Whatever it was, it sparked them to leave. Now, you being top security in Belgium and a Strategic Air Command, there's no way in the world you can walk out the gate.
Yeah.
Right, and get on a plane and then fly into America, because they'll be all over you like a rash.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what happened, but they did.
Yeah.
So in other words, an American government setup.
Yeah. But you got to tell it because you were told that Jesus is coming back to Gulf Breeze, Florida on a UFO.
That's right.
You said, well, actually, it's a Dodge Diplomat parked in.
Well, what happened there? I do speak about it. The CIA guy was standing, approached me. This is at night, and he's got little white shorts on and a t-shirt and so forth. So I got talking to him, and he mentioned that Jesus is coming back to Gulf Breeze, Florida on a UFO, and I said no. I said it's a blue Dodge Diplomat
with a vinyl
roof, and it's parked over there in the parking lot. Right?
Yes. So
he laughed, I laughed, and we went on. Pauline's sitting there with a long face as usual, and we just headed off, and we got talking about it, and I said it's all bullshit.
Right?
Yeah. So, but why was he there?
Yeah.
He was waiting for Jesus to show up.
Yeah. And you did.
I did. So they've changed dates around, and even from Germany, it wasn't from Belgium, and blah, blah, blah.
And they're expecting the Antichrist not to be
Later on, I would meet a guy who was worked for the Strategic Air Command, right, in Belgium, and he was a public relations officer that released all the reports on the UFO sightings over there.
Yes.
That's what started it all off.
Yeah.
Right? So I meet him later on in Pipe, Alabama.
Yeah.
Another place I was told to go to by the angels to interview the cops there, which I did.
Well, okay, so, okay. So we're in 1991. Okay, so after the failed solar eclipse experiments, because your camera got blown over and it was too cloudy, I then went on to investigate several Mayan ruins where...
Let me just point out that as you drive from Belize into the Yucatan up to, I was going towards Palenque, which is very, very well done, well trimmed, mowed lawns, spectacular, a lot of tourists go there.
Right.
On the side of the road, on either side of the road, there was these signs with little pyramid shapes on them. We're talking not one or two, we're talking hundreds. We're talking a lot of mileage here, right? So finally I decided I'd go in and what the hell are these things? I'd go in and have a look. So I drove in, and as I'm driving in, there's all little yellow butterflies flying around, nice little setting, you know. And so I go back a couple of 100 yards or whatever, get to a gate, wire gate, and beside the gate was this rusty tin shed, and inside was a Mexican charging 50 pesos to go in. Now, the chances of someone going into any of these hundreds along the way would stop at that particular one where does it mean that in every one that you would go into there'd be a little Mexican charging 50 pesos to go in and have a look? Point being, it was all set up. So he said, oh, you can't take a camera in? I said, there's nothing in the camera, I'm using it as a telephoto lens. So I showed him inside the camera, nothing in it, so later on I slipped the taping. There's a very large area, flat area, where the people would stand watching the sacrifices. To the left was the sacrificial altar. To the right where they held all the prisoners. And they were all shaped like a mouth. So I walked to the end one and I had the horrors of thinking that what these poor people would have been thinking just prior to being taken out and have their heart cut out. And I thought, in the name of Jesus, I cast you bastards out of here. And then this scream come up. Now, I instructed Pauline to keep the camera rolling. Yes. And she did. And I was probably 50, 60 feet away. But this noise that come up was so horrifyingly loud, and it circled around and around and around for 20 or 30 seconds, and then faded into the distance, as if the demons were these birds, because there's no birds there, flying away.
The fowls of the air.
I did the same thing at Palenque, climbed up to the highest places in Palenque, and did it again. There's people down the bottom walking around, hundreds of people walking around. I did it again, the same screaming sound, and yet no one looked up. It just kept on. So they couldn't hear it. So I thought, well. But because I recorded it on a videotape, I ended up giving it to Dr. Helen back in Port Alberni, and he of course, ran with it.
Okay, so moving right along, you can, that's all the conversation we've just had with Yah. So now I
told the crowd how it all comes about. I said, there's actually 4,000 rigs in the Gulf of Mexico for pumping for oil. Yeah. But the gas that comes up does spontaneously ignite. Yes. And I told the crowd, I said, it's like gas, it's like human beings. I said,
Gulf is like humans, full of gas and farts continually. All right, well, let's get out of here. I won't go through. This is where you're back at Shoreline Park, 1992. The MUFON, you stayed late.
We stayed late.
And around 3 a.m. we were approached by Jacobs from a plumber who said that he saw a huge sphere coming across the Gulf of Mexico. In it, countless demons poured out and entered his house, which forced him to leave. So that takes us back to the year before as you cast out the demons.
That's right. Now they've come. Yeah. This is a year later. And he comes and tells me, one of the lovely people.
Yeah. And then, so it was he that said that his daughter was engaged to one of the computer operators in the Strategic Air Command in Belgium. So we just read online, it says Germany. They saw the Iraq War and Jesus was coming back to Gulf Breeze, Florida on a UFO. They had been spooked and went AWOL. It's
a fact story.
Yeah, like allowed to leave by the US Air Force is no way. Defies logic unless the Air Force was going along with it. Jesus coming back to Gulf Breeze, Florida, and on a
that bit
UFO.
was true on the computer. That's why they did it all.
Yeah, that's why, because they wanted to be there when you turned up.
That's right, and that's why the CIA guy was there.
Yeah. So here's Shoreline Park, Gulf Breeze, Florida. This is from Google Earth today.
How clear the water is.
So Jacobson told me his daughter was engaged to one of the computer specialists, her fiance. Okay. So Yah writes, next day a CIA operator approached me. We talked. I said to him, is that a gun in your shorts or do you just like me? He said, all Americans carry a gun. Discussing Jesus coming on a UFO, I said it was not a UFO. It was a metallic blue Dodge Diplomat with a vinyl roof. It's over there parked in the parking lot, registered to an Iraqi from Los Angeles. So I'm not bothered to change the license over. All right, so now we're in this story, the long and winding road of Yah's adventures. So we're getting back to the parents of the victimized high school students. So this is all Ed Walters again. We're switching back to...
Yeah, well, they were the ones telling me, as I said, they had that look of angels.
Right. So
all the information they gave me, phone numbers, who to contact, right across America to California. Right. So how did they have all that information if they weren't angelic?
Okay, so another bit of information they gave you was about Fife, Alabama.
Yeah.
And San Marino, California. So you drove on to Fife, contacted police, sat at the conference table and interviewed 3 police officers. We've already talked about this, the Devil's Head. Okay. But in Gulf Breeze, you'd been given names, phone numbers and places, on and on to San Marino. We left, headed towards Roswell. The phone number this time was for the home of, what's his first name? Haupt. Walter Haupt. So we've got Ed Walters and Walter Haupt. His wife answered the phone, and his wife was a he.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You said he was a homosexual. Told me where to find Walter Haupt. He, the public relations officer for the 509th, stationed in Roswell, New Mexico. So the bullshit story.
They were the bomb squad that took the Enola Gay.
Oh, so the 509th.
Albuquerque. Yeah, it's a 509th. Yeah. That's where they were stationed.
Right.
So they went to Albuquerque, picked up the bomb. There was a man named Lawrence.
Yes.
Who sat beside the pilot, and he was one of the lovely people taking photographs of the bombing of Hiroshima.
Oh, God. Anyway, the bullshit story, the original alien UFO story. Now, so the original story, it was arriving from planet X, cruising at 200,000 feet, failed to notice another UFO from planet Y. It's like a graph, isn't it? Ran headlong into the other alien craft from Y. It was totally destroyed, and the other from planet X crashed in the desert. Now that is bad luck, writes Yah. Travelling trillions of miles to smack into each other. And Yah just wants everybody to know, by the way, angelic vehicles do not suffer impacts with other angelic vehicles being heavenly sent angels. They do get around in their own vehicles, but they certainly don't run into each other.
Well, that's how the ancient monuments were built prior to man being on the earth. It's all carried by these huge angels. And you take the pyramid itself, 70, 80 ton pieces of rock.
Yeah.
Brought over the mountains from Aswan, and then built this magnificent pyramid. Now, I should mention that all these huge amount of rocks, 2.3 million, was supposedly laid every 2.5 seconds, or 2.5 minutes rather, to build this thing in 20 years. But what about the huge amount of rock that's next to it? It's almost as large a pyramid, and then there's another one next to it. Then there's another 6. Right? That's all made of the same rock, all brought there by angels. No one ever talks about that, a huge amount of material. Anyhow, it doesn't matter.
All right, let's go on. So Yah writes, he knew it was a setup. His suggestion was that these... Okay, we've already covered this. So, becoming friends with the CIA agent, he suggested we attend a seminar. A woman, the first abducted by Grays, who had carried out sexual examinations on her, causing her great anxiety. The idea was breeding a half-breed alien/human. Now, she was in fact a 300-pound Native American, close to being a human sphere, writes Yah. And so that demonstrated the Greys' very poor taste in women. Now, not remotely a Sharon Stone, as it were, because she was the one that did star in some abduction.
I think she was in some movie with it.
Yah was trying to remember who was this lovely-looking blonde woman that was in the so the 180 opposite to a 300-pound Native American woman. So. Yah writes it was obviously a scam by an enterprising hulk of a woman to gain a few shekels while the grey phenomenon lasted. All right, we have already recorded this, what turned out to be 2.5 hours with all these 108 slides, but breaking this down into smaller pieces. And so watch for Part 2.